Hey guys, welcome back to the old tractor shed. Behind the camera, the painting process continues. Flipping parts over, painting other sides, painting what I missed. While the paint's dry, I am playing. I did get the axle off the opposite side. I didn't do it the way the manual had said. Manual actually says to remove the whole unit. Of course, those two bolts with the locking plate, I guess it is, take those off. They say to take this whole thing off, and then, of course, the spline end of the axle will be sticking out. They say to tap it onto a block of hardwood to push the axle out of the housing. That's how I'm going to do this side. This bearing goes on here. It's actually on there pretty tight. I had to use the very large tapometer, my big sledgehammer, and tap this, and I got it off. Actually, it came off just fine. Putting it back on is going to be a real challenge. I want to take the axle housings off anyway to change these gaskets. I can't see how a guy would be able to get the axle back in, get the bearing on, and get that large gear on that's inside there. I can't see how that's going to happen. Put a new seal in, and put the axle back in, and then tap this bearing onto here. Say it's quite snug fitting on there. It's pressed on. I'm going to get a chunk of pipe, I think. I could certainly do it with a hammer and a flat punch, but I think I'll actually take the time to get a chunk of pipe, machine it to the right size, so put it on square. Main thing was I wanted to get the seal off, and of course it has a number on it, so I'm going to get these two seals ordered. That one's got to be the same. But what I want to do today is I want to get the little flanges. It's got two PTO shafts. I'll turn this other camera on in a second. I guess one's 540, the other one's 1,000 something, I guess. I'm not really sure. Low speed, high speed, different splines on them. Anyway, I want to get those flanges off, wash them all up, and see if I can see a number. If I can't see a number, I'll have to get some measurements, I guess, and then get these seals ordered. And then while I'm waiting for the seals, I'm going to have to get some blocking. I don't have enough blocking here. I got to support underneath the transmission and get rid of these jack stands I made. That's just not going to work. But I don't have any blocking. So for me, it's going to be a few days. For you, it's going to be just in a minute or two. We'll get some blocking. We'll get this apart. But for today, let me get back here. We'll switch to that camera, and I want to try and get these flanges off. Yeah, I think they're not tight. I think I cracked them all free already. Same bolts, just checking. Those ones there could be a little longer. The ones on the flange on this side, the bolts are longer than the ones on this side, but I don't see any reason for that. I suspect that could just be somebody's had this apart at one time and switched different bolts. Whatever. I'll sort that out later. Lots of silicone here. All right, that one comes easy. I'm not sure what that ring is for. There's a split in it. I'm not sure if that ring is just broken, if that's a sealing ring. I'll have to have a very close look in the book and see what the deal is with that. I do see some numbers on this one. So I do have some numbers. Now, why doesn't this one want to come? Silicone, gotta love silicone. Lots of silicone in here. This bearing here is actually protruding out a little bit, but it seems like it sits into this flange. All right, I'm going to wash these up and then see what I can see for numbers on these seals. Give me a couple minutes. All right, I got them both washed and cleaned up. This one here, I'll grab a still image. Somebody changed this seal, and it's pushed in so far that it's almost all the way through. It's a good 1/4 inch on this side, and it's sticking out 1/4 at least, maybe 3/8 on that side. But I've got good numbers on the inside of that one. I've got good numbers there, so I'm going to get those numbers written down, and I got the numbers on this one. I'll get a few seals ordered, and while I'm waiting for them, I'll just carry on cleaning and painting, and I'll bring you back very shortly. In this video, it'll be extremely shortly, and we'll get this axle off, and we'll see what the bearings look like here. The bearings here look really good, and I can see that race perfectly fine. I don't think there's any issue with bearings. Even these bearings here, I'll have to have a closer look at them, but they look good. My mission for today was to get more stuff painted, obviously, and get the seals out, so I'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, I found some blocking, and I got it underneath the center of the tractor and took away my homemade jack stands and put a couple of shims on either side. Got it pretty stable. I've got the axle housing off on the other side. I'm going to bring the camera around. We'll have a look at the gasket. Gasket was pretty well toast, which is what I expected, so I will be making new gaskets for both sides. Got my seals ordered. It's going to be a few days before I get them. We'll have a look at that gasket, and then that side I took it apart in 2 pieces. I took the axle out first and then took the housing off. The book actually recommended to take the thing off as a unit and then remove the axle after. So I'm going to do that on this side, but we'll have a quick look at the gasket on the other side. So the oil was actually leaking. If I remember right, it was from this top one. Might have been from that one, but the gasket, when I took the housing off, I mean, it ripped and came apart in several places, but this is pretty loose here. There's really nothing left of this gasket, so no big surprise that's leaking. I will cut and make a new one for that, but let's get the other side apart, and we'll see what we got to play with over there. All right, so I got the other camera looking down inside the housing here. I'm not sure how well that's going to work out, but I'll see if I can get my fingers down here. There's a plate right there that it's a locking plate. You got to bend these tabs back in order to get those 2 bolts out. So I just use a small screwdriver and a small hammer, and I just try and straighten them out. It's usually pretty mild steel. And then take the hammer, that's that one. Now, get that bolt out. If I can. Yeah, they're actually not overly tight. it actually feels like on the second bolt that the piece that should be folded up is actually broken off. So I'll probably have to see if I can find just a piece of mild steel, drill a couple holes, cut it to the right shape, and make a new locking piece for this. Because, and the other one too, when I took the other side off, I noticed one of them it's been bent back and forth a couple times. Of course, it wants to break, and I think that's what's happened here. Probably when I clean the sludge out of the bottom, I'm going to find a piece, but that's okay. Oh, well, it's not broken. Not broken. Just the way it was, it looked like it was broken. Well, actually, changed my mind again. It is broken. The piece closest to my arm there is a whole lot shorter than the other side, so I think I'll make some new ones. Now, there's some shims here. Be very, very careful not to lose these shims. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this all together with a zip tie, just so that I don't lose. And actually, I put the other side together with one zip tie, and just to mark this, I'm going to put 2 zip ties on this. So I know 2 zip ties is the right-hand side, 1 zip tie is the left side, because I'm sure these, hold on to this camera, these shims here, that sets the load on these bearings apparently, so I don't want to mix those up. That is all I have to do down in here. Now, just trying to decide if this is too heavy for me. I've lifted the housing separately and I lifted the axle separately. I could bring that little hand crank forklift in here. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm not in a hurry. That gear should slide off easy. On the other side, I took the sledgehammer and I just tapped this and I pushed it out. I wasn't sure what was holding it, whether it was the gear or it was the bearing, and it's the bearing. The bearing is pressed tight on the shaft. I've removed the housing from the other side and I took the axle and I just slid it back into the gear and pulled it back out. So I know that the spline on the gear is not restricting it. So in theory, I take these bolts out. This should come off without an issue. But if it is a bit of an issue, I'd rather have the weight on my little hand crank forklift. So give me a couple minutes, I'll bring you back, and I'll get that all set up. Okay, I think I'm all ready. I was going to put the forklift in here and put a couple ratchet straps on it, and then I realized a couple of chunks of 4x4 would probably be a better situation. So I'm going to remove the bolts off the bottom, probably just leave the one, and then get that in there, and then we'll get it off. So let me make a little bit of noise, and we'll get this axle. As soon as I cracked that last one free, I saw the tractor move just a little wee bit, so I just want to check. I got some underneath the blocks. I put some shims under there to take, of course, the whole tractor wants to pivot on the front axle. I do have those blocks spread pretty wide, but the bottom of that transmission's got just a slight little curve, so I just want to check that shim on the other side, just to be safe. Yeah, it's got a little wee bit of a rock, but I think it'll be fine. Put the pan there in case I get a little oil there. Could be some oil there. I got that camera watching that gear. I expect as I pull this back that it should just come out of that gear. We'll see. Huh, piece of cake. Let me look, see what's going on. Yep. Okay. And there we are. A whole lot easier than manhandling that. This gasket here looks exactly the same as the other side. A few pieces stayed on here, a few pieces stayed here, so that's fine. We'll build a new gear. Now, what they said in the book to do this is to stand this up on a block of hardwood. Well, don't have a block of hardwood, I got a block of softwood. Set this on there and then drop the weight a couple of times to get this bearing out, because this bearing is pressed tight onto the axle. So, that's what I'm going to try and do. I do have a little bit of oil dripping there. I'm going to clean that up first. Not that it matters, but... yeah, there's going to be oil in there because when I had the other one apart, I'm going to find a smaller block and put it inside my drain tub and do it there because I know there's going to be some oil in that because there was oil on the other side. Let me find a block of wood. Just a chunk of 3x4 or whatever. I'm going to put that in there. And then, so I don't know how heavy this is going to be. I'm going to lower that down a little bit. This is a handy rig. All right. It's not that bad. Not that good, but it's not that bad. Okay. Now, I think, yeah, so there's all kinds of oil pouring out of there, so I'm going to give it a second. Catch my breath. I'm too old for this foolishness. Yeah, okay. And it's moving. I don't think I need those. Making a little wee bit of a mess with the oil, but if you're not making a mess, you're not making progress. I gotta be careful. Am I gonna damage that bearing? That bearing is gonna stay. No, I'm just worried that the bearing would fall down and I would drop this thing on top of it. But no, the bearing, I don't think it will. We'll listen for the bearing. That's as far as we're going there. Okay. That just lifts out of there. I'm just hoping that I'm just worried about that bearing down at the bottom. I don't want to take a chance at damaging that bearing. So we'll lift that off. And there's our bearing. That there. Just like that, guys. I will wash all this up and check that later. That's that. Very uneventful. This is a good idea. That'll be very helpful when I go to put that back on. I need to wash everything, clean all the bearings, inspect everything. I will be cleaning and painting the axle housings, clean and paint the end of the axle, and then get some seals reassembled. So I think that's going to be it for this. If you enjoy hanging out in the shop with me, if you haven't done it already, consider subscribing and click that little bell. That way you get notification when I make another video. If you truly enjoy what I'm doing, consider sharing it with some of your friends. Click the like, leave a comment. Apparently that helps with this YouTube algorithm thing, gets the video in front of more people. Other than that, I appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time in my old tractor shed. Ciao! That's as far as we're going there. Okay. Shut the door. Yeah?
Okay, just I was on the deck and I heard banging,
I'm banging.
like boom, boom.
I just took the axle out.
Okay,
My sweetheart's coming to check up on me.
because then I didn't hear anything, and I heard it again. I thought maybe you were trying to knock your pin. Okay,
You staying or you going? I'm just going to lift this out of here, that's all.
okay, you go ahead.
Did you want to come and help me?
No.
That just lifts out of there. I'm just hoping that I'm just worried about that bearing down at the bottom. I don't want to